Hello everyone, this is General Hand Grenade. Welcome to my war room in Prince George, British Columbia. I'm not sure if you can hear the noise out there, but my neighbors are in the backyard. It's a nice day out there and they're out in the back. They're playing some music, so hopefully it's not too distracting for this video. So this video is another Global War expansion set, and it's called Fascist Croatia at War. What this one really was, I think, was their first foray into partisans. Like the big deal about this set is to do with partisans, right? It was how they introduced partisans into the game. And then now, of course, they've got the partisan expansion set, which is a really good set, right? But also it's about breaking Yugoslavia up into the different ethnic areas. Like Yugoslavia wasn't one big country. It never has been. It's always been a collection of small, and it was kind of put together by other people, not necessarily by the people that live in that region, right? So let's get into this. Let's take a look at what you get here. So here, the main feature about this is this overlay that you get. Now you can see here we are in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and this is the Balkans in Europe, depending on the size of the size of map that you buy, that's what size the overlay is. So this like here, you can just pick it up and move it around, right? So this is the large size, and then if you had the smaller map, then you would get the small overlay, and you'd have to tell them when you order which one you want, right? And then up here you've got your partisan markers. And of course now they have partisans, right? Like if you bought the partisan set, or I think you can get them also in the base sets, right? But anyway, like I'll probably be using my partisans as opposed to using the partisan markers, or maybe I'll just put the partisans right on the markers, right? And then there's a militia chip as well. And this is a Chetnik. We'll get into what that is later. And then you've got your German SS roundels as well. And we'll see how that works. But I'm just going to pause it, and I'm going to go set this up on the board, okay? I'll be back. Okay, so finally I can get back at it. After I turned the video off and I moved everything around, and the music got really loud, and the place was shaking, so I had to wait. Anyway, it didn't last very long, so that's good. They're not too bad people, the neighbors there. They're just having some fun, so I didn't want to bother them. Anyway, so getting back to this Fascist Croatia at War. So I moved things around a little bit and gotten ready to make the next part of the video. So on the next page, it's got a bit of a history there. And so the independent state of Croatia, or the NDH, was a puppet state of Germany and Italy created out of territories in occupied Yugoslavia. The territory comprised modern-day Croatia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and part of Serbia. Welcome to Fascist Croatia at War. This expansion will bring new dimensions to occupied Yugoslavia. Many atrocities were committed by the NDH, not the least of which was the establishment of a large extermination camp. These atrocities spurred the Serbs, Croats, Bosniaks, Communists, and many ordinary citizens to join the pan-Yugoslavian partisan movement led by Josip Tito. The Chetniks were Yugoslavia army units that both engaged in resistance activities and, at times, collaborated with occupation forces. In the end, the Chetnik agenda appears to have been a self-motivated attempt at creating their own self-styled Serbian state. Their radical ideals and terrorist tactics put them at odds with the partisans. Anyway, so that's a bit of the history behind this, and that's before World War II. There's been a lot of history there since World War II as well. The Serbians kind of took over everybody else, and that just ended. I guess it would have been the late 90s there when Yugoslavia finally broke up, and places like Croatia and Bosnia and things like that got their independence. So what happens, how you play it? So when Yugoslavia falls, so it becomes Axis possessed, you do the following steps. First of all, you place the Yugoslavian overlay on the map. The overlay will remain on the map for the rest of the game. The conquering players may place their units in Slovenia, Serbia, and Croatia in any configuration they wish. Okay, so anyway, let's take a look at where the overlay is. Now I've set it down beside because you'll look here, you see all these white units over here? Now these are probably going to be, all of those would by the time Yugoslavia falls, those no doubt would have been annexed by Germany. Germany would have just moved their units in and taken over, and then those units become German. And that's why you see over to the side here, I've got the overlay sitting to the side. It's kind of hard to tell because I've just got it sitting over top of the rest of the map. But I wanted to show you how it's done because the units that are on there would stay on there. So like what you do is you take all these units off. Now, first of all, Yugoslavia falls, right? So that's these units here. You've had a battle there, and you take the Yugoslavian stuff off, right? And then, so you need to overlay the map. That means you have to move these things off as well. Now, these things would already be German, right? It's just, I've kind of expedited the process by having it both set up at the same time. So you take all of the stuff off that was there, and I set up a mirror image of it with German unit stuff. So then you move this into place, and this is the first time I've done this, so there you go. Does that look right? There you go. So that's what it looks like now. Now, you had gone in there and you've taken Yugoslavia out. So let's just throw a couple of units in there. I'll just grab anything here and we'll put them in Yugoslavia. So that's these territories in here. That would be Croatia, Slovenia, Serbia. Okay. So what it's saying here is that at the end of that last thing I just read to you there, what it's saying is, okay, now you've got your units in Yugoslavia, so you can place your units in Slovenia, Serbia, and Croatia in any configuration that you wish. So this used to be one territory. This one, and this one used to be one territory. So you're gonna decide how you want to do it. Like you could leave them all in this part right here. Geez, this map is actually pretty big. I have to reach over quite a long ways to do this. So let's just break them up a little bit, okay? We'll put this thing up here and this thing right here. There you go. So you can put these wherever you want. Now what happens is you put the rest of the units on. So those are all those chips that I showed you that you got, and the Partisans and everything. So let me just grab all that stuff over here out of the Pacific Ocean. It's swimming. Okay. And the Partisans. Okay, here we go. So the formation of the Croatian army. Place in Croatia 1 infantry, 1 militia, and 1 infantry with the 13th SS Mountain Division marker under it. So you need an infantry and a militia in, what did it say, Croatia? Yep, in Croatia. And you get the 13th marker here. So that's this SS marker. And what you would do is put a mountain infantry on there. So I'm going to buy more mountain infantry because not only did I get this set this week, but I also got the Reich set, the one where you get all the newer one there. And so the might, not the Might of the Reich, I can't remember what it's called, but it's the new set where you get all the different SS, right? And you need some mountain infantry for that. So I'm going to buy some more mountain infantry. So, but for now, I'm just going to put this one that's got glued onto the chip there. I'm going to put them on there. So, and now in Albania, place 1 infantry with the mountain division marker on it. So that is the 21st. So this goes in Albania, and it goes, you get another mountain infantry on there. And in Serbia, you place the 7th in there. So in Serbia, the 7th marker goes in there with yet another mountain infantry. So this is pretty good, isn't it? You're getting lots of good stuff in there. Like down where the mountains are, you're getting all these mountain infantry for free. And Bulgaria, you add 1 infantry to the Bulgarian forces. So this is Bulgaria down here. You would just add an infantry in there. Or I could have just added a chip underneath that other guy. Let's do that. Here. Where's my chips? There they are. So that's how you set up the conquering army there. And then now the partisans. Now you've got some Comintern partisans. You place 1 each in Slovenia, Croatia, and Serbia. And so that is these markers here. So there's 1 in Slovenia. And 1 in Croatia. And 1 in Serbia. Oh, I'm going to have to get good at this. Obviously, it's easy to move that thing around. And 1 in Serbia here. It's tough to reach over top of this camera. Now, I also have partisans, so I'm going to use the Russian partisans in there as well, since they're Comintern partisans in here that you're setting up in here. So I'll just use the Russian partisans. There we go. Now, there's also a Chetnik unit in Serbia, and it can't be moved. So, where's that Chetnik thing? Here it is. So this Chetnik thing goes in Serbia, and it can't be moved. They're under the control of the German player. It may be used to attack partisans in the Serbian zone. So, I guess you just put an infantry on there. If just to signify that, so that guy could attack, or you could just use the chip, because it's kind of hard to differentiate between that and the other ones. Just put that chip there if you want, or get a different kind of infantry that you can identify easily. So it's under the control of the German player, and this unit may be used to attack partisans in the Serbian zone. The Chetniks come under the control of the French player if there are no other Axis land units on the Yugoslavian overlay. So this piece that moves here, all that piece that moves, now if there are no Axis units on there, then the Chetnik comes under control of the French player. So partisan generation. Now, if you're playing with this expansion set, then you use the rules that I'm about to tell you. But if you're also playing with the Partisan expansion set, then what you would do instead of this is play generate the partisans based upon the rules from the Partisan expansion set. Or you could use the rules for this, but I would use the ones for the Partisan set, because then it gives some kind of continuity, right? And there's only a slight difference here. Like it says here, during the Comintern players collect income and purchase units phase, make a partisan generation roll for Slovenia, Croatia, and Serbia. On a roll of 12, place a partisan in that zone. The partisan is Comintern and it acts on the Soviet Union player's turn. So the difference between that and the other rules is that on a roll of 11, you would generate the Soviet partisan, and on a roll of 12, you would generate a French partisan. So if you're playing with the partisan rules, then that's what you're going to want to do. And like you can see, this this is going to get pretty crowded down here, isn't it? If every once in a while you throw a partisan in there, and the Germans are going to want to keep some troops down there because they're going to need to deal with those partisans, right? Otherwise, they're going to be springing up and taking over Yugoslavia. If you don't leave anybody there, because if you remember back to my video with the partisan expansion set, you can take 2 partisans and trade them in for 1 militia, and if there's no other unit in that territory, then that militia will take over the territory. Like, you can't take over a territory with just partisans, but you can with a militia unit. So that's why Germany's going to need to leave at least 1 unit in each territory, so that the partisans don't rise up, become militia, and take over the territory. And of course, you're going to be doing all the different actions that you do with the partisans. Like there were 6 different things that could happen, right? Where you roll the 6-sided dice and oh, actually no, sorry, I kind of got ahead of myself there. You roll a 6-sided dice, but not yet. So let's just talk about partisans for a second, rather than skipping ahead. So they're too weak to attack full strength, but they can defend. Now they defend on a 1. They usually don't move. They don't have an attack value, and they defend on a 1. So for guerrilla warfare, partisans may only be attacked by infantry class units, including militia or cavalry. Other types of unit may not attack them. So you couldn't use a tank or artillery or anything like that to attack a partisan. You have to use either an infantry or a cavalry to do it, and any kind of infantry, right? Any type of infantry unit, including militia. It says, note that because partisans can exist in the same zone, this is one of the only times that regular militia units can use their attack value, since they normally don't move. So you couldn't move a partisan in there. The partisan stays in one's place. However, the partisan can be generated in that zone, and then in that case, then if you would like, then the militia could attack. So fade. A defending partisan may decline combat in lieu of making its defense roll. Such a partisan is immune to further attacks that round and remains in the same zone. So let's say this militia attacked this partisan. The militia missed. The partisan, rather than rolling back, they could say, you know what, I'm just going to fade back into the woodwork, because these partisans, they didn't wear uniforms, right? They didn't necessarily even carry open carry machine guns and stuff like that, right? Like it might have been a guy carrying a loaf of bread, or a woman carrying a baby, right? they're just regular people who are resisting, right? And so but they try to blend in. And so they can just fade back into the woodwork instead of shooting back. And like I said, a partisan can never capture a territory. A partisan does not affect enemy units or other partisans in the same zone. The partisan is ignored for all purposes except as explicitly stated in the rules. A partisan prohibits the tracing of a supply path through the zone it is in unless there are infantry class units in that zone. So that's another reason why Germany might want to keep their an infantry class unit in that zone, because they wouldn't be able to trace a supply path through there. And that might be handy, right? Well, they're going down to, they could be fighting in Turkey or the Mediterranean. Like, they need to be able to trace a supply path down there, right? And then transformation, I mentioned this already. 2 partisans controlled by the same alliance may become a militia during the combat movement phase of its controlling major power's turn. Such a militia is treated as if it had combat moved into the territory. Once a militia, the unit cannot transform back into partisans. So 2 partisans can make a militia, but 1 militia cannot make 2 partisans. You can only switch it one way. And then elimination. A partisan is removed if the territory is conquered by a member of the partisan's controller's alliance. It does not have to be removed if controlled by a different alliance. Generally, this will happen when a Soviet partisan and an Allied partisan exist in the same zone together, and the Soviets wish to keep their partisan alive. So now they don't go right into the partisan rules like I was talking about there with the six-sided dice. I think there's 6 different actions that you can do as a partisan, but they don't go into that in this fascist Croatia at war. But if you were playing with the partisan rules, then that's going to make these partisans a lot more active. They're not just there to hopefully take over a territory if Germany leaves it empty, or to block a supply path. Like, you can actually do some damage to them, right? You can destroy their infrastructure. You can get lend-lease. There's all kinds of things you can do. And if you really want to know what all those things you can do, I encourage you to go and see my video on Partisans. That would be one of the best expansions you can get. I did another expansion earlier today, the Spanish Civil War. So I'm telling you, if you got the Spanish Civil War and Partisans, I mean, that's 2 really, really excellent expansion sets that you can use. And this one here, this would be good as well. One of the things I noticed, so when I'm doing all these expansion sets, because I've done more than half of them, probably 3/4 of them now, it seems like a lot of these expansion sets have to do with Germans. And so you got to be careful not to add a whole bunch of German expansion sets in, because generally these expansion sets make you a little bit more powerful, right? So if you're giving Germany like 5, 6 different expansion sets, then that makes them much more powerful than everybody else in Europe. It seems like they need to invent some more expansion sets for the Comintern and for the Allies, just to kind of even things out a bit. You can't just use a whole bunch of them, and especially the other one that I was mentioning earlier, the one with all the SS in it. They're all elite forces, right? Like these things here, these are not just regular mountain infantry, these are elite mountain infantry, and you got 3 of them for free, right? So all of a sudden Germany is much stronger down here than they were. Even though there's partisans being generated down here, like, it's hard to generate a partisan. You're going to need to roll an 11 or a 12 just to get one. So you might get one every few turns or something like that. But those mountain infantry, they're going to be tough down there. These are all mountains down here. And so, you know, like, they're not going to suffer that penalty when they're attacking into mountains. And they're going to get the +1 if somebody tries to attack them while they're in the mountains. And this is all mountainous territory down here in this region down here, including over here in Turkey, right? So these guys are going to come in pretty handy. So get on that historical board, Kimmy. Let's get some Comintern and some Allied expansion sets in here. Anyway, so this one looks good though. I like this one, and it was a pretty good foray into beginnings of the Partisans. I'm thinking maybe they developed this, I don't know, but I'm thinking maybe they developed this set and said, hey, you know what? I think we're onto something with these Partisans. And then they developed the whole Partisan set after that. And that's a really good expansion set. So that's about it. That's Fascist Croatia at war. So I'll just go out and upload this one now. Take care, everyone. General Hand Grenade out.